moving here. Yeah, let's see here. It's giving me a message here. All right, it's just telling me how many people on each of the platforms. So, guys, if you just bear with us, this is the first time we're testing out this platform. We're trying to stream it to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube all at the same time so we can maximize the exposure of the expertise that Ben's going to be sharing with us today. My name is Jude Sandoval. I'm the founder of the Divorce Advocate, and Ben is the pro se coach. I'm going to give him some time to just give him his just introduce himself and share a little bit of his background. But I can tell you, I've been in the family law courts for over a decade here now, and there's nobody more knowledgeable than Ben on how to navigate some of that. So we're going to spend about an hour doing a Q&A. I'm going to keep everybody on mute so that we don't have any background noise or anything. So if you have a question, I'd ask you if you could just pop it into the chat. And that's any people that are listening, streaming as well. The chats will populate all into one place. And then I'm just going to kind of facilitate these questions with Ben. So on that note, Ben, welcome. We really appreciate you taking time and chatting with us about that. Let's start off and share a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, man. Thank you all for having me. First of all, I met Jude a few weeks ago and have enjoyed getting to know him and the whole group that you guys have put together. I'm in Texas, obviously, and forgive my voice, as Jude mentioned, I've been fighting a hell of a bug these past 48 hours, so I'll probably fall out of the chair when this call is over. But I have two exes, and I'll keep it really brief. But my first ex and I split. We were very young. We were in our early 20s, and we did 50-50 with no child support, and never went to court, never had another problem. Those kids are 22 and 19 now. But I remarried, unfortunately, and in 2015 we split. We had a 5-year-old, and what followed there was almost 4 years of family law and stuff. We went to court almost 90 times. She filed 7 restraining orders on me. She used 7 different lawyers. Spent a little over $300,000 in legal bills, and it was an absolute nightmare. And I, of course, did it all myself, because who can compete against $300,000 worth of anything? And so it's a really long story. It doesn't end very well. I really haven't had considerable, meaningful time with that child, who's now 15 in almost 4 years. Football is about to start up here in Texas, which is a big deal. And so I'll go to all of his football games, and that's pretty much about all I'll see of him this year. But when I got out of all of it, I kind of realized that I learned a lot going through what I went through, a whole lot. And I didn't know any better than you guys did or anybody when I got started. But once I started learning, my story ended really crappy, not because I didn't know what I was doing. There was a bunch of variables, but I learned that the first thing is that this is not difficult. Family law is not hard to execute as a pro se person. I know it's intimidating, and I know that every person around you is, the very first question out of their mouth is, well, did you get a big, giant, sexy, expensive lawyer? But once you figure out how it works, it's really not that hard to do. It's just a matter of really sucking it up and pushing through and executing the way that you need to. And so anyway, as I, was kind of figuring out my next steps in life, I couldn't go anywhere in my small town where I grew up in without 3 people coming up to me at dinner and saying, hey, Ben, I'm in a family law thing, and what do you think I should do here? And strangely enough, I knew the answer. And so I was able to say, well, make sure you file this, and don't forget an affidavit, and make sure you do this, and blah, blah, blah. And people said, man, thank you a lot. I really, really appreciated that. And I got a big charge out of that. And so to fast forward through several years, by 2019-18, I was doing this so much that I sold the little company that I owned. And so this is all I do now full time. I'm not a lawyer. You guys all know that. That just means I cannot give you legal advice. So what I do is I tell people what I would do. If they do agree with me, great. If they disagree, cool. But I'm going to tell you what I would do, and then I'll help you execute that. And I really enjoy it. People ask me, kind of like, what's your, I guess, mission plan or purpose to some of this? And honest to God, I just want every person I work with to turn out better than I did. That's it. If you can maintain your relationship with your kids, if you can get to a point where you can survive whatever the terms are to get through, the 18 years of having to co-parent, then I'll call it a win. I know that the game is stacked against us all as guys. You all know this. Um, I was going to throw a fun fact. You guys, you guys might not know. We did a Freedom of Information request with the Texas Attorney General's office in 2021, and we asked for what are the percentages of custodial versus non-custodial, mom versus dad. Um, the mother in the state of Texas, in all 254 counties, 92.8% of the time is the custodial parent. That's 93% of the time. That is a predetermined outcome. And I mean, you can't even argue it. And so, anyway, so the deck is stacked, but I do enjoy. I work strangely and surprisingly to me when I started this, I figured I'd work primarily with dads. That's not the case actually. I think I'm probably 50-50 moms and dads. Moms can also get rolled pretty hard in this game. You got a really rich ex-husband and you're going to be underwater really quick. I don't really care who I help. I'm not pro dad versus anti mom. I'm pro kid, honestly. And so I don't know. That's the most basic explanation I can give, and I'm always open to questions. But I think I'm a little different than perhaps Jude and some other people in that while I do help you kind of strategize and navigate this, I seriously get down to the absolute weeds and details of exactly what words we want to use, what arguments we want to use in court, how do we e-file, what's the proper document to use, details. And so I get very, very deep in things with people. And I enjoy it. It's a heavy job. I'll say that. By 4:00 every day, my brain is broke. But I enjoy it very much. I'm very passionate about it. So again, thank you all for having me this evening.
Yeah, Ben. So thanks for that. And I wanted to point out. So you mentioned that you're from Texas, and you primarily do your work in Texas. But I did want to say that. So I work with men actually across the world, but mostly across the United States here. And the family law court system, like you said, is structured mostly the same everywhere. There's different statutes here and there, and in different. In the different jurisdictions. But as far as strategizing, talking about stuff of what you should do, how you should handle situations, it's mostly, while each of your individual divorces are different and unique to your families, navigating that court system is going to be probably 75, 80, I would even say maybe, and tell me if I'm wrong, Ben, 90% kind of the same as far as the system and how it's going to go, right?
There's nuances to each state, of course. Yes, I am in Texas. But I mean, I've done Hawaii to Florida, to New Jersey, to Idaho, to Oregon, to Mexico, to Arizona, to Colorado. So there's nuances to some of them. Some of them are a little bit bigger nuances. Like I know Arizona is essentially almost a de facto 50-50 or like a default 50-50 as a starting point, which is great. I know Missouri is as well, I believe. And so when I help people from other states, I kind of have to say, okay, in Texas, we would do step 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me go confirm and make sure that we do 1, 2, 3, 4 in your state. But yes, it's very, very close across all states. They're all broken. Okay. They're all busted. And so it's just a matter of figuring out where the secret passageway is to kind of get to where we need to go. But yeah, so they're different, but not very terribly much.
Got it. So for those of you guys just jumped on here, if you've got a question, if you can pop it into the chat, I'm going to kind of be keeping an eye on this chat and let Ben share his expertise. So if that's not possible, if you're on your phone and you are an old guy like me and can't figure out how to turn the video off and put in a chat message or whatever, just raise your hand and then I'll unmute you to ask the question. But if you can use the chat box, it's just going to help facilitate it a little bit easier. And I'm going to start off, Ben, with this question: Is it possible to go pro se and do this if you're in a high conflict situation where you described one spouse or the other having an immense amount of money that might stack the chips against you. That was an experience that I had. I, at one point, had to go pro se. It was not a good experience because of that. So why do you say that it is possible to do this? And is it possible if somebody, it is high conflict and somebody else has such an advantage?
I think it's the only way you can do it. If you have a really high conflict thing, just like I had, okay, my ex would wake up every single day and dig up something new to bitch about. If I had an attorney, I couldn't have survived 15 minutes in this game because she would have bankrupted me so fast. And so when people call me and tell me that, like, oh, my ex has tons of money and they have this fancy attorney and they file something new every day, I'm like, cool, let's go. Because I can weaponize the whole court system against them. Now, everybody's got their tipping point. I mean, how much is a lot of money? I don't know. I mean, I was talking to a young lady the other day, and her husband on his tax returns was $1.1 million a year. Okay, that's going to be a little bit more difficult because that is a lot of money until it starts to really hurt him. But for the average person who's making $92,000 a year, they can be as high conflict as they want. I'm going to bleed them out so fast that they're going to have to tone it down. Otherwise, we're both going to end up pro se, and then I'm going to roll you because I know what I'm doing and you don't. And so the high conflict thing is scary, I understand, because high conflict people throw lots of poo against the wall to try to figure out what will stick. But you just got to be able to see it for what it is and be able to respond accordingly and move through it. But as I said when I started, it's not difficult. I tell people that all the time. It's not hard, but man, is it intimidating. Okay, these are your kids on the line, your money, your future. That's not lost on me. I can tell you all day long how easy it is, but I'm not stupid enough to say, man, this will make you shake in your boots, because it will. But if you really know what you're doing and you can express yourself and you can advocate for yourself, I also tell people all the time, if you start pro se, I sincerely mean this, you will end up the same or better than if you had an attorney.
Okay. I want to follow up on one of the things that you mentioned there, and then we do have a question here. You said you can then weaponize the court against them. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? And what specifically can somebody do if they're so depending on who's listening, they could already have an attorney, which I think if you do have an attorney, you should be on this call. If you're listening to the replay of this, you should be on this call also, because you should know what the system is, how the system works, and the questions that you should ask. But what would a quote unquote weaponized strategy be? What do you mean by that?
I tell people all the time, I like to stay out of court for anything that's important. What's important? Your kids and your money. These things are important. That's important. So what about discovery? That's not that important. Yeah, there's things in there I want to know, but it's not life or death. It's not going to be a case breaker for me to go to do a motion to compel over discovery. Like, for example, like that whole process, you've got discovery, interrogatories, and admissions. Again, I'm speaking to Texas. Things may vary slightly, but what I do with people is we will send discovery on the 1st of the month, which creates a 30-day deadline. We'll send interrogatories on the 15th month, which creates a 30-day deadline. We'll send admissions, 30-day deadline. But then each one, I can throw off a motion to compel off each one of those. So just in that little 3-step process, I've just spent, I don't know, $25,000 of your money with 3 motions to compel, with 3 separate hearings and 3 complete documents that you have to answer over things I want to know about, but honestly are not like make or break for me. And so it's a game, for lack of a better word, as a descriptor. It's a game. You just have to learn the sidelines. You have to learn the boundaries and then how it's done. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm going to hit you in the pocketbook as hard as I can, not to bankrupt you. You're the mother of my children. I don't want you living on the street as much as I don't like you right now. But at the end of the day, all I want you to do is to put down your sword and get reasonable and come to the table. And if that takes costing you a boatload of money.
Sorry. Gotcha. You know? Okay, so that makes sense. So that's what you mean by using the system against them to make them to spend an additional amount of money. Gotcha. Okay, all right, that makes sense.
I don't want to wait. Let me clarify. I don't want. There's nothing I use weaponization. I mean, bad people weaponize this stuff. We're not going to file bogus allegations. We're not going to, file restraining orders over stupid crap or do the things that our exes do to us. Right? I don't want to make up stuff. But I do want to. I want to use the tools available to me without worrying about my costs because there isn't one. I want to use those tools in order to achieve the conclusion in an ethical manner without, again, remember, we don't want to go to court over important things, just to move this process forward in the hopes that you'll come back to the table. How many stories have you heard, Jude, where it's like, well, we spent $250,000 and we ended with the very first offer I gave her on the day we broke up, right? And so that's all. I'm just like, okay, how many ways can I smack you upside the head until you'll come back to that deal? That's all I'm trying to get you to do.
Gotcha. Right. So maybe a better word, strategize using the system in order to help facilitate the process and get to an outcome that you want. So that makes sense. So we got a question, and the question is: I just got my first orders. They're extremely vague and have a lot of bad information. How should I go about getting them fixed? And this is so. Thank you, Justice, for putting where you're in. He's in Texas, outside of Houston. So if you guys, I appreciate you putting that in.
What's the bad information? What does that mean, Justice?
Yeah, I took you off mute, Justice. So feel free to speak. Yeah, I already took you off mute, so you can talk. Oh. So we can't hear you, so something's going on here. I've got you off mute. There might be. Do you want to put it in the text box because we can't hear you?
Yeah, I mean the vague. I see. But the extremely vague and have a lot of bad info. It's impossible. I mean, there's a motion to clarify, based on vague information, but bad information, I don't know. It depends on what you call bad. She may not call bad. But yeah, we'd have to figure that
out. We'll come back to you, just if you want to put it in there. If you can get your microphone working here, I'll keep you off mute if you want to keep testing it, and we'll let you jump in here when you've got that. So let's see, Blake, your question is, how reliable is AI at this point? Answers today are better than last year, so it's always changing. So I'm assuming that's around being able to use AI to craft your motions, et cetera. So what is your take on that, Ben, and using AI?
It's extremely powerful, as you all know, and it can be a tremendous asset. There's growing case law of AI will tell you sometimes what you want to hear. And so there's growing case law to where pro se people in particular, they're getting AI to spit out these giant, motions or answers or whatever, and it's citing all this case law. The case law is not real. And so then opposing counsel figures this out and then files for sanctions against you for a misrepresentation to the court. You straight up lied to the court and you tried to trick it, which then pisses off judge, and now you're off in a bad way. I tell people all the time, if you want to use AI to help, that's fine. But if it does quote any form of case law to say, show me a link to the case law that you're talking about, I want to read it myself to make sure it's real. But yeah, I struggle with it procedurally. Like I use it all the time too. Of course, it's open on my desktop all the time, and I'll say, what about this and what about that? But I'm asking straightforward questions to it simply because I'm too lazy to Google. Having it figure out strategy for you. I'm a little old school. It still makes me queasy. I have a lot of students that do it, and they come up with these wild motions that I've never even heard of before. And maybe there's some validity to them, but it's like, man, everybody in the room is going to know that you're, that you are using AI like crazy. So I think it's just, again, having somebody knowledgeable around you to kind of maybe tone it down or just to double check you or whatever the case may be. But the case law thing is something you got to be really careful with. That happened to me just the other day there's a thing in Texas called the statement of inability to afford court costs. And I had a bunch of questions related to that. And I answered a question and it spit out an actual screenshot that it was claiming was from the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure. It didn't even exist. Because I did that. I said, show me where, show me. And it finally, stupid AI finally says like, oh, I'm sorry, I've made an error. That doesn't actually exist. And, you know, I mean,
wow. Yeah. Well, that could
quick way to get in trouble.
So, okay. So what I'm hearing you say is it's probably out for using it for strategy, right? Don't ask it for strategy, which I would agree with, because how would AI know your situation, even if you were to type or upload all of your documents to it? I think it would struggle with trying to conceptualize the context of a divorce and what that really means, right?
Well, yeah,
so would you say AI is out for strategy?
I do not use it for one lick of strategy. I've used
Okay.
it for motion creation only to see the structure of things that I want to see. I use it just for simple basic Q&A. I do hit it for case law, but I do make it show me links. But strategy wise, yeah, it would just, I mean, you're talking to a computer and they don't know your ex, they don't know how opposing counsel works, how your judge works. Maybe they can give you ideas, but I would really have a smart person in your corner to kind of really play devil's advocate with some of this stuff, because, you know, it could get sideways fast.
Right. Okay. So we established AI is probably not a good idea for strategy. You need a Ben, you need a divorce coach, somebody that's going to be helping you with that. But you could craft a motion with it. Just be careful not to, or be careful if it's citing case law. And if it is citing case law, you need to go and check the sources of that case law to make sure that it is in fact true, correct?
Well, see, even with that, you got to know what you're doing. I was messing with AI, and I don't even remember what motion I was creating. It was something, it was kind of out of left field, the motion that I needed to make. And I was like, show me the basic template for blah, blah, blah motion. And it did, and I read it, and it read fine. And I was monkeying with it. And like 20 minutes later, I came back over to it, and I said, does this thing need an affidavit with it? Why, yes, Ben, it does. According to TRCP 12345, you must have it, or else the whole damn thing's going to be thrown out. So if I hadn't asked a question, I wouldn't have passed first base. And so,
right.
You know, you got to learn how to drive that thing for sure.
Got it. Okay. Justice, I think we got your volume fixed there. Did you want to elaborate on your question?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the vagueness of my orders, I swear to God, is terrible. So I get supervised visitation twice a month for the next 5 years. Never hurt nobody. Don't do drugs. No felonies. No nothing. You know, her only reason why was because I've never cared for a toddler, so her welfare is at risk, which is crazy. But it doesn't say who the supervisor is going to be or who decided. And the mother decided that she's going to be the supervisor, which I can't allow because, you know, there's a lot of conflict between us. And, you know, when I went there, I traveled, you know, 564 miles, just, you know, for the first visitation. And she says, I'm going to be the supervisor. And I was like, you can't do that. You know, that's nothing that we agreed upon, nothing. She says she's the only one that gets to decide. And there's nothing in the orders that says anyways. And she's saying because it doesn't specify or restrict in the orders, she gets to decide. And
Wait a minute.
there's
So,
just
when
the whole
was
thing
this
is just
order
like
made?
written up by a child.
When was this order?
What was that?
When was the order signed?
The orders were done June. The orders were written up June 16th.
And they gave you 5 years to supervise for, I guess this is an infant.
Yeah, she's 2 years old.
Well, I'm trying to figure out where the arbitrary
I
number
kid
of
you not.
5 years
I
comes
never
from.
heard her know nothing.
I'm trying to figure out where the arbitrary number of 5 years came
Yeah, I know.
from.
It's that's what they said in court. I never got to speak on my own behalf. The judge literally told me, uh, I got a handle on things. I don't need. I've heard enough, and made her rulings. I didn't get to put myself on the stand. No closing statement. No nothing. I recorded the entire hearing, and I can show you where she said that.
Were you pro se?
I don't know, Ben. I don't know if you made. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You were pro se?
Uh, I wrote a couple times in your group, and yes, sir. I was.
Yeah. I mean,
I wrote a couple times in your group, and what was that, sir?
nothing. I wouldn't be worrying about what's clarified. I'd be worried
My
about
connection's
getting
kind
rid
of
of that
crappy.
order. To turn you into a visitor on supervision for 5 years over no reason with
Oh,
a child that's 2 is insane. I mean, there's got to be cause.
and,
If there's no
you know,
cause,
she's over. The only reason why actually, I can let you hear it. Here's
Okay, what are your concerns about leaving her alone with him?
He has never taken care of a small child, and small children are unpredictable. Since he's unused to taking care of children in general, and especially toddlers, I don't believe that is a safe situation.
So you feel better with the supervised visits?
I would.
You're asking for 2 times a month supervised at your residence with the child until she's 7 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
hold on. Justice, it's okay. You don't have to play it, but no, that's
that's yeah. You don't have to play it. Yeah, I was just gonna say that is insane, and
you know,
so
a lot of times, I take calls from moms that will say, my ex-husband never took care of the baby, when it was little, and so I don't feel safe. And I always think back to my first ex and I was like 25 years old. I'd probably changed 3 diapers in my whole freaking life. And she agreed to 50-50, 7 days on, 7 days off. Our child was 6 months old. She was breastfeeding and would bring me breast milk every day to feed this kid. He's 6'4" and 19 today. Justice, your issue is not vagueness in this order or untruthful things. Your issue is you've got to throw a hand grenade at this thing and fight this to the death to get rid of this garbage. You can't keep driving 1,000 miles a trip to go hang out for 4 hours with the kid, with your ex sitting there watching you. Because you know what's going to happen, Justice. The day that she turns 7, she's going to have a new problem. So
yeah, so Justice, I don't know that we're going to be able to answer real specifically for you tonight what course of action that you need to be taken next. But I agree with what Ben says is maybe you need to get with him offline and privately and talk about a game plan for trying to get that, because that's I agree with Ben. That's just egregious, and there's got to be some cause. Can't say that I'm surprised. I unfortunately hear about stuff like this often, and judges that and magistrates that just make these ridiculous rulings that you just got to fight, unfortunately. And I got to say, you're going to hear me say this, and if you listen to the podcast before, that as dads, it's incumbent upon us to keep fighting. Right, like we got to keep fighting, and it is unfortunately the only description that you can use is it's a long-term war, especially if you got somebody that's going to be alienating and doing stuff like your ex obviously has some kind of mental emotional issue, because if she didn't, she would want the father of her child involved in their life, because there's no better. There's no better indicator of whether or not a child is going to be a healthy, functioning adult than if their father is present and involved in their lives. And so if any mother, any ex is not facilitating that, and I mean facilitating, actively trying to do that, but it's actively working against that, she's got some issues. Unfortunately, the courts go along with this crap a lot of the time, and I think this is a good example. Unfortunately, Justice, but hopefully you can get with Ben and you can get a game plan together for working towards trying to get that resolved.
To the insanity of family court. If your ex tomorrow wrapped her car around a tree and died, and we're not asking for that, but let's say that tragedy occurred, the state would come and hand you that kid and say, good luck. All of a sudden, you'd be safe because there would be no one to call you unsafe. And so, I mean, there's no logic behind any of it. It's thoughts and feelings. And that's what I would just take a chainsaw to this until this is back to my bad use of the word weaponization. But in terms of strategy on something like this is to just pound on the courthouse door until they get out of the damn way and give you normal access to your child, which is a constitutionally protected right, which requires due process. Due process does not equal I'm worried. So it may take a hot minute, but we could probably have a field day with this.
Yeah. All right. So Blake's got another question here. It says, my wife had her first divorce filing dismissed for want of prosecution. On the day that happened, she rented out my house secretly since she was using it, saying we'd go to Bell County for a new job and work out our relationship. 3 months there, she refiles in the new county, which turns out to be where her parents started living. She actually said a coworker was staying in our house, so we were staying in theirs. In reality, she was renting out our house, and her father was renting for her the house we're in. So yeah, I'm looking to a jury trial on geographic restriction. The question is, am I crazy for wanting to do a jury trial?
Now, okay, Blake, you call her my wife. Does this mean ex-wife? But I'm confused.
Hey, Blake, I'm just going to take you off of mute here if you want to respond to that.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, wonderful. I mean, it's my wife, so she's filed for divorce, but it hasn't finished yet. So we're in temporary orders at the moment.
Okay, so wait a minute. Wife files, wife dismisses. She talks you into moving to Bell County because we're going to go be happy and move. 3 months there, she refiles, which turns out to be where her parents now live. Okay. So I'm looking. I don't understand the last part. So I'm looking to a jury trial on geo restriction. I understand what the geo restriction
Well, okay. So in Texas, apparently you can have a jury trial. That's not every state.
I know that, but I'm curious about why geo restriction is disputed.
Well, we are from Dallas, Dallas County, which is 3 hours north of Bell County, and so basically, I'm going to be asking the jury to have Luke, my son, return back to our house, or at least the area of our house in Dallas.
How long has Mom lived in Bell County right now?
We all moved down in the middle of last year, and then after 3 months. She absconded with him and refiled for divorce there.
So Blake, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're basically stating that she disingenuously tricked you to move down there so that she could file in a different county, right?
You got it.
Okay. However, you did willingly move down there with her, and after the first filing got taken off the table and before she filed again, right?
Willingly, under the premise that she was supposed to be opening offices, was the story in Bell County. So she works remotely, and allegedly her employer wanted her down in Bell County to open some offices for a few months, and then we would all return back to our house in Dallas.
Yeah, so you want to go back to Dallas, huh?
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Are you in Bell County still?
No, I'm back up in Dallas. So I've got 11 family members actually right around our house in Dallas, and so I'm staying at my parents right now while I'm waiting all this out.
Okay.
And they're next to my house, but like I mentioned, she's actually secretly rented out our house to some other people, so I can't even get back in my house right now.
And so, okay, And what's on temp orders right now? What's your schedule?
I have, it's basically a standard possession order, but I can, I guess I can't give the whole story. So we had interim temporary orders first because she made these TRO accusations against me. And during those interim orders, I got every Sunday from noon to 4 p.m. So, but by the time we got to our actual temporary orders, it had been another 2 months. And I think there was enough status quo doing that the judge just said, okay, I'm going to basically give you a standard possession order, but you're not going to get a full standard possession order. You're going to get, you're going to see him Sunday Saturday, you're going to pick him up at noon. And then on Sunday, you drop him off at 4 p.m. And so I'm driving 3 hours each way to pick him up, then go back to Dallas, then drop him off and come back to Dallas.
Man, you guys got horror stories. I mean, the issue is not geo restriction. The issue is primary, because I mean, you don't. I certainly don't want to be restricted to Bell County, and she doesn't want you to be restricted to Dallas County, which I understand. But I mean, the issue is that she totally tricked you to move to Bell. And how long have these temp orders been in place?
The actual temporary orders have been in place since February, at the end of February.
So what the heck's happened since then? Anything?
Nope, just in the discovery process now. I filed for, demanding a jury trial. And yeah, that's the whole thing, is the judge can determine primary, but I don't think this judge is going to be very favorable. I think he's just going to sort of default to her because she's had so much status quo at this point. But my understanding is that a jury is a lot more reasonable, and they're going to look at this and they're going to think exactly probably what you're thinking. Like, there's no way we're going to stand for this. And if they say you got to go back to Dallas, the judge can't do anything about it.
Hey, can I ask how old your kiddo is?
He's 5. He's about, yeah.
Okay.
I had a guy in down south of Galveston. He did a jury trial. Mom wanted soul, and it was super duper high conflict. Jury comes back and says, we want to name everybody joint managing. Everybody has typical rights, etc. That's really all they could rule on. Judge said, okay, I'm going to make you joint managing conservator, Dad, but you have no set possession at all. Mom determines your possession.
Wow.
That's entirely legal, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
That guy hasn't seen his kid in 6 years. My point is, there's about 1 million holes in a jury trial that a judge can work through. I mean, if it were me, you should, all this went down in February. I mean, why don't we file a motion to modify temporary orders and start beginning the argument, try to turn the needle away from that status quo? Because you're right, status quo makes life easy for judges to say, everything's going fine. Yeah. Let's just leave it alone, and start pushing it to no, these children need to be back here for this reason and that reason, and the extended family and opportunities and better schools and et cetera, and just keep repeating that. You say you're going discovery process. I just explained a minute ago, I can make you spend a ton of money on a discovery process, maximize that. Maybe you do throw out your jury trial request and just hang it out there in the air. And let her
here's something.
Explain, it's going to cost $40K on the,
I said, yeah, let me throw this at you. I actually did file for a motion to modify, paid the $80, and we'll be having that on September 9th. So roughly about a month from now. So in my head, I'm thinking I think we've only got like 45 minutes total, which isn't a long time to present a case.
You got a lawyer?
I had one. I couldn't take it any longer. So now I'm pro se.
Well, I mean,
so hey, Ben, can we make I wanted to make a quick point about the status quo thing, because I see this all the time, and I'm sure you do too. Is the courts, whether you're represented or you're not represented, but you get you get a bad order, right? Like, this is obviously a bad order. We've heard a couple of bad orders right here, which is they're just egregious. But the problem lies in then if we just allow that to happen, right? Because you stated it, which is exactly right. The court loves status quo. So if we let this ride and we say, oh, well, the court has ordered this, and so I'm just going to wait for my trial or whatever, or I'm just going to go along with this, that's a huge mistake, because then the argument is, well, he seems to have been okay with that, and it seems to be working okay. So the courts always want cover, right? The judges and the magistrates always want cover. That gives them cover to say, well, it's worked, it's good, et cetera. So I want to point that out, because I think what you're saying, Blake, and it sounds like you are taking action. Like, this is not right. I shouldn't drive 3 hours to see my kiddo for 24 hours and then drive 3 hours all the way back. This is insane, and there's no reason for it.
Jude, it's actually worse than that. I have to drive 3 hours to pick him up, and then another 3 to come back, and then on Sunday I have to make the same trip. So I'm driving about 12 hours every other weekend.
Yeah, that's insane. It's insane. So kudos to you in standing up immediately, saying, hey, this is not right. We need to get this fixed, because it's not right. And I wanted to put that out for the greater good of everybody, because I see a lot of guys get passive in this, and then they go, well, that's what the court ordered. I don't really have a choice. Well, you do have a choice. Your choice is to start doing something about it and standing up, saying this isn't right. This is the reason it's not right, and keep fighting for it. So I just wanted to point that out, Ben. Go ahead.
Let me finish with this question, though, kind of like I said before. So given the time limit, should I be going and swinging, trying to make a full case for him to be returned back to Dallas, or should I try to just start right now going for a full-blown standard possession, where at least I get him for the full weekend?
Well, if it me, I'm gonna say I want kiddo to live with me. In the alternative, I want the increase in time. But my first request is that kiddo needs to come up here and be with me.
Okay.
That would be how I would attack that. I mean, you got a big hearing coming in, 3 weeks. I mean, lots and lots of prep work to do to prepare for that and argue that for sure.
Yeah. Okay, very good.
But to this thing about status quo, it's one thing I talk about all the time with students I work with. And judges never make hard decisions. I know that sounds counterintuitive to what you think judges do. Judges ain't going to go out on a limb and take a chance on something. They're always going to take the safe and easy exit. That's it. And so knowing that, I try to, I don't know how to apply it necessarily to your case, Blake, but I mean, a lot of times I get students to say things like, look, if you don't change this way I'm asking, we're going to be back in this room once a month. Okay. And we're going to blow up your docket. I'm going to be all over this. We're going to have super high conflict, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or you could do this really easy thing and move us to this schedule and fix this problem. You'll never see us again. Okay. That's the easy route. And I'm telling you, that is the most effective way to get inside of a judge's head, is give him an easy way out. He does not want to see you anymore.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I hear that a lot. And I hear that. Yeah, Blake, we'll get your next question in. I hear that a lot from both pro se and from attorneys, actually, even more. Well, we don't want to piss off the judge, right? And I understand it from the perspective of the attorneys, right? This is a cottage industry. They're going to see this judge or this magistrate over and over again. They're actually going to be at a weekend retreat with them next week, and they're going to have, so they don't want to piss off the judges. They got to operate within this ecosystem. So I understand that. But is that true? Are you going to, so in these cases that we're hearing here from a couple of the guys, can it get any worse if you're saying something like, hey, I'm going to be here every week with a new motion for you, or does that just piss them off, Ben? And then they see your motion? Because I've literally filed motions where it was hours and the motion got denied, right? Which means to me that they literally did nothing other than read the motion and just say denied and didn't give a shit.
Everybody's case is so unique, and your point though is very valid. You got to remember, your attorney has 14 other cases in front of this judge. So while he does care about your case, he has to consider the 13 other cases. So I can't go in here and piss all over the courtroom and piss off this judge just because Blake wants me to. So, that's got to be some, that gets consideration. Now, when I'm going to court, I don't give a damn who likes me. I am here to beat the door down and say, look, you can listen to me now, or you can listen to me on the 10th hearing. I'm going to read the law to you, and we're going to follow it. Yes, I say everything very respectfully. No, I'm not in there screaming and yelling. But, and that's in terms of like, I was telling, you, Blake, that, you got the hearing coming up. I mean, to go in there respectfully and saying, this is not following the letter of the law, and I'm going to remind you of what the law is so that we can follow it. That's where case law comes in. I love bringing case law in because it goes back to my point of what's the easy way out. Judge can say, oh, you know what? He's right. That case law says exactly what I'm going to do. I don't even have to make a decision. We're just going to do what he just said. But yes, I mean, in terms of just, it's a totally different mindset because we're all terrified. Right? My kids are on the line. I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I don't want to step on a landmine. I don't want to piss someone off and lose my children or have something terrible happen to me. But at the same time, I kind of need you just to like put on your jacket and just, charge through the wall and just say, shit, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. And so it's a lot of that too, because not many people will do that. And, I had one guy recently, and man, God dang, that judge hated him. And she would put him on supervised and then find him for this and attorney's fees for that. And he just kept coming back and just saying, I don't really give a damn what you say, Judge. I ain't doing it. And he kept saying it like straight up, just like that. She kept saying, I want you to pay for the $175 hour supervised. And he was like, nope, ain't doing it. Repeat. She finally said, well, look, he ain't doing nothing I tell him to do. So I guess let's lift the supervision. Let's just go to a standard possession schedule. So
Good for him.
I know. And I was just like,
yeah,
because Judge finally just gave up. And she was just like, I can't beat it. So anyway.
So let's lay the land a little bit also around family court. So family court is not the top choice for where these judges would like to land oftentimes. And then I don't know, I know in Texas, it's a little bit different. Here in Colorado and some other places, they do have judges, but they also have magistrates, which are basically attorneys that are hired by those judges to take some of the caseload off of them. Yeah. So, and then these magistrates circulate through civil court, family court, like all the different courts. And family court is where they don't want to. They don't want to hear people bitching and moaning, arguing all day long. And these are not seasoned judges that know the case law inside and out. So to your point about talking about case law or bringing up case law or citing it to them, you might feel like, well, why do I have to do that? Or should I do that? Am I going to insult the judge? No, you need to do that, especially if you know that you've got the right case law, because they don't know. And I've literally had magistrates rule on something that was a completely opposite of a statute, right? And guess what? Nothing happens unless you bring it to their attention. So whatever they rule on, they can rule something wackadoodle, which we've heard some wackadoodle shit tonight, right? Already, they can rule something wackadoodle, and that becomes the motion unless you go to them. So bring that case law. Don't be afraid to bring that case law. Don't be afraid to put this up there and bring it to, I don't want to say throw it in their face, but like say, this is the case law. Here it is, and make them have to look at it and rule on it the right way.
I can't, in Texas, those are called associate judges, which you're talking about, just like an appointed lawyer who gets to wear a black robe for the day. And I don't know about other states, but in Texas, if you get an associate judge, you have the right to object to that before the hearing even starts. And you can say, I ain't doing this. Now, even if you let the hearing happen and your associate judge does something stupid and, some crazy ruling, you can file what's called a de novo, and you literally get to go back in front of your district judge and have the entire hearing over again. So I'm just throwing that out in case that's with these other places.
Yeah, that is a great point. That is the law here. And let's just say that for everybody listening today, if you are or not in court, but anybody that's listening to the replay on this too, if or when you go to court and you get assigned an associate judge or a magistrate, refuse it. You have the option to opt out of it. You want a district judge, you want a regular judge, whatever they call it in your jurisdiction. You do not want that associate judge or that magistrate. I've seen more crap screwed up by them than anybody else. At least that judge has a history on the bench. They're relatively seasoned. They may have been in other parts of law as well. So absolutely, positively, when you get and this is going to happen right after you file, right after your soon-to-be axe files, they're going to assign it to somebody. So make sure, find out who that is assigned to. If it is not a district judge or a judge, if it's one of these associates or magistrates, opt out of that to go right to the judge. It's not gonna magically make everything better for you, but it's just going to give you a better opportunity of not having to do what we just talked about, waste time on bringing up what the case law is. They're less inclined to screw up a ruling that you got to go back and try to fix and be in front of them. So yeah, that's a good point. Ben, you had another question. Let me take you off the beat here.
Blake.
Oh, yes.
Or Blake, sorry.
And I should say, by the way, one of the reasons why I'm so bold about this is because I feel like I've got nothing to lose at this point. So it's almost like I've got everything to gain. I'm ready to go at it.
Yeah.
And this judge, exactly like you described it, I think he got put there. He doesn't want to. I think he's a real estate guy. And so they put him in family law. I don't think he wants to be there. And he's new. So that's who we got. And it's really helpful. Like, yeah, I was kind of a little afraid to do it. Should I be like quoting case law to this guy?
Yeah.
Is that going to be demeaning or no? It sounds like, no, that's what you got to do. And I love that. So thank you. My question is though, I was under the impression that I get sort of this motion to modify and it kind of takes a change in circumstances to get a motion to modify, even though it's still temporary orders.
Well,
And this is like an AI thing that was described to me. Oh no, you need a change in circumstances. If you've actually had a final hearing, then you need a change in circumstances. And my assumption was at that point, I can't, you can't really file anything unless there's a real change. Maybe that's a little different during temporary orders. And regardless, I do have a change now. The lease that my wife put on our house is up. And so, and it's renewing on a monthly basis. So the judge can theoretically send her back now. That's a change.
yeah.
But what if after this motion, you were saying go back and fight and fight and fight. I don't know what else I would even theoretically file after that. I mean, aside from motions to compel.
Like your change in circumstance on a temporary order simply just has to, I mean, it could just theoretically be this isn't working. I mean, that would be enough of a change in circumstance. Just like this just isn't working out. There's so much discretion in family law.
And they won't just turn down your motion. Like you pay $80 to get that thing.
Oh, I've absolutely had them thrown out before they've been even heard. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of times judges will get pissy if, you're filing in August. Let's just say you have a final schedule for October and they can be like, oh, go to hell. I'm dismissing everything. We'll just deal with it all at final. That's why I I want to push out, like I use jury trials as a great delay tactic because in Texas, they take forever to tee those suckers up. So let's just, again, using an example that we're here in August and you've got a final schedule for October. So about September 1st, let's file a jury trial and push that damn final all the way to March of 26. Now I've got all the time in the world to do anything I want to see who is going to get tired first, who's going to get wore out dealing with me. But yeah, and like the case law and other things kind of coming in there with some bravado, like, you've got a thing coming up. I mean, like for your opening statement, I would teach you this, come along the lines of, start and kind of set the tone for the day. Judge, I'm super nervous. I've never done this before, but I am not a happy person. This has been extremely upsetting to me. My child and I have been harmed. We've done nothing wrong. And this needs to be changed. I've spent a lot of time preparing for this. I am ready to go. I brought case law and examples and evidence and witnesses, and we're going to do the right thing today, I hope. Okay. That's not overly disrespectful. I'm not calling Judge a loser, but I'm at least setting the tone for the room that, like, damn, y'all better pay attention to this guy. He's pissed, and that's kind of the temperature to bring to the room. Like, enough already with you guys. I've tried to play cool. I'm done. And so we're going to do the right thing, and we're going to move this forward. I hate that she tricked you into this Bell County thing. That's so frustrating, because of course she's going to spin it the other way and say, "Oh no, he talked me into going," or some stupid crap like that, just to downplay it.
Thankfully, during the temporary orders, she admitted that she lied about the stuff, so all that's already on the record.
Yeah.
But he still didn't do anything about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, your next 3 weeks need to be hardcore becoming a lawyer. I mean, from opening statements to witness statements and questions and evidence and all of it. And I mean, learn in Texas, they're called the Holley factors, Holley. Those are supposed to be the factors that judges use for determining placement of the children. And one of them, like, for example, one of the Holley factors is like proximity to extended family.
Yeah.
And
But
so,
he's not going to, I mean, he's not going to send my son back home. You think? I mean, during a motion to modify, would he? Even if I've got a case. I mean, she lied to CPS. And her both times for both divorces, she filed a temporary restraining order. The first time she filed it and did the CPS thing was like immediately after she sent a text message saying, "I can't stand living with you anymore. As a person, are you leaving or am I?" And then the next day it's CPS claims and it's temporary.
Just so you believe me, I had a female client, and she lived in Houston, and she says, "Oh, my ex is super scary. We're breaking up, blah, blah, blah." She flew to freaking Hawaii, which is where all of her family is from. A whole big giant family. And she says, "I'm going to stay over here. The kids were really little." That judge in Houston made her fly her happy ass all the way back to Houston. And they had a hearing, and he said, "Okay, you can stay in Houston or Hawaii if you want. The kids are coming back to Houston, and should you come with them, we're doing 50-50. I mean, true story. So you just asked, does it happen? Yeah.
Yeah. And so Ben, if I'm thinking about this and I'm talking with Blake and individual coaching, I'm thinking he needs to put together an entire timeline of what happened, right? So that he can talk to and demonstrate kind of what happened through that, and then have the exhibits around that to be able to say, "Hey, this is what happened. This is why we're at where we're at now." And then from a negotiating standpoint, Blake, you want to ask for what you want. You want your kid back, right? You want to be back in Dallas. And like Ben said, ask for what you want. And it might seem extreme, but worst case scenario is it comes somewhere in the middle, right? Maybe it gets week on, week off, or whatever it might be. So you're going to ask for what you want and not just try to start in the middle and then get less. Right. Yeah. So somebody like Ben can kind of help strategize with that. We got a couple minutes left, and I know Moss wanted to ask a question here, Moss. So I'm going to take you off of mute here, Moss. And this is going to be our last question because we want to keep it at an hour. We're going to be doing these now the third Thursday of every month. So we'll continue to have Ben here to help us out. And I know he's not feeling under the weather, so we're going to let him go pass out after this question. So, Moss.
Oh, hey guys, I was actually raising my hand for Tony. He's got a question and he's on his cell phone, so he's having issues raising his hand.
Oh, what's up, Tony?
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, I took Tony off now. Go ahead, my friend.
Sorry, I put it in the chat way earlier, but my wife left me after 17 years. She started cheating on me and left for somebody else, and now want to claim that we never were married or anything because we're only common law married. And I've tried to stay out of getting going and having to go to court and get stuff done, but she just refuses to do anything other than what she wants. And basically she's done the exact same thing she's doing now several times before, and just trying to do it again with me. Only we've been together 17 years. We got house and land together in both of our names. And we've got vehicles, in each other's names and things like that. And it seems like the only way I'm going to get anything to come out correctly is to have to go to court and get a divorce. And I was just wondering.
What state are you in?
I'm in Lampasas County in Texas, just about 50 miles west of Bell County.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, in Texas, it's pretty easy to be common law. They first have to like kind of adjudicate the marriage itself, but 17 years, you're going to be married. So
Yeah, it's going to be pretty easy to prove that we're common law married. I mean, we filed taxes together for 17 years. Like I said, we've got things in both of our names together. I'm listed as a spouse on our car insurance, things like that.
Is there anything you want out of this, or is this just a matter of separating everything?
It's more or less a matter of just separating everything.
Just file for divorce. Just file for divorce. And if she wants to dispute something, then let her dispute it. But she's not going to get anywhere with the 17 years and all this stuff being commingled. And then everything's just going to be split down the middle and off you go.
Yeah, basically what it is I work, daylight to dark all the time. And so just about everything is in her name. And so she's trying to use that to her advantage as to the not being married. And she's just taking everything she wants and everything that's in her name and leaving me stuck with everything that's not. And since her credit and everything's shot and all credit cards and things like that were in my name. And so I'll be stuck with all the debts and everything.
Well, listen, it's not, Tony, I know you're probably overwhelmed. Simply file, drag her into court, and we watch how fast this comes undone. Because the first time she talks to any attorney, they're going to say, oh, yeah, you owe him half of all of that, and the names need to be changed and this and that and the other, and then she'll do it. I mean, if there's no real asset, like if you guys aren't dividing up $1 million house and a whole bunch of 401ks, then what are we doing? All we're doing is refining cars and getting them out of names and stuff like that. It's nothing. So sorry you're going through it, but the process won't be hard.
Yeah, she pushing off just trying to, in Texas there's the 2-year limit as to the common law marriage thing, and she's been trying to play that out as well. We've been like this for 8 months now. I've heard saying she wants to get stuff done, but not doing anything to get it done.
Well, why would she? If you don't do anything, she wins everything. So you
exactly.
Chop. And don't forget, in Texas, you can file the affidavit of inability to pay and waive that $400 filing fee too, so you can get divorced for free.
So let's end on that. That was a good prompt to just say from a mindset perspective. We get a lot of guys that are just kind of waiting for stuff to happen or thinking about stuff, man. And you said it, Ben. Like, it's incumbent upon us as the dads, the leader of our family, even if we may not have been strong leaders of our family to this point, to really move things into in a direction that we needed to move for, particularly for our kiddos, right? So sitting on your hands, waiting for things to happen, going back and forth, trying to be nice guys sometimes, right? That's a big one for us. It just doesn't work. And so being and oftentimes we get into situations for us to have to learn and have there be some growth through this process. So get on it and get things moving in your direction, or in a direction. Might not go exactly how you want or what you anticipated, but it's going to move how it's supposed to. And then continue to stay strong, guys. I want to thank all of you for being here and jumping on and being vulnerable with your questions and chatting with us today. It's a credit to you and showing up for your kiddos. I want to thank Ben and sharing all of your expertise, my friend. It's a blessing to have you and the knowledge and you really taken what's been a difficult and challenging time in this court system and dealing with it and turn it around and helping all the people that you help. Where's the best way for guys that are on the call, guys that are listening in this replay here to get a hold of you?
Yeah, thank you. It's prosaycoachtx.com. You can Google my name. I'll come up a bunch of places. But yes, I always enjoy these types of things and meeting people from all over the country because there's solidarity in all of it. We as guys are so bad that we sit in our rooms in the dark and we put the weight of the world on our shoulders and we won't let go of it and we carry it every day. And the more times you guys will join things like this and just let it out a little bit. Listen, I mean, we've had 10 guys in here kind of saying, hey man, me too. And I've been there and I've heard that. And, I've been through it and Jude's been through it. And, there's a lot of people that'll come on alongside you and walk through it, and you will survive. It will be okay. It just might suck for a minute. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to point that out too. So I know there's guys from your community, my community on here. There were guys from Hawaii on this call, guys from Colorado, guys from Texas, guys from really all over the country on just this call. This is the first one we've done. I think it was tremendous, Ben. We're going to keep doing this once a month on the third Thursday of every month to get you guys the help that you need. I keep referencing the replay of this. So I've got those of you that aren't familiar with the divorced advocate community. We support guys that are thinking about going through or are post divorce. And we've got resources like this, as well as a bunch of others. We've got a podcast, we got a blog. You can check it out at thedivorcedadvocate.com. We also got a membership site. The membership site is then when we house things like this. We have other group meetings as well. And it's just, that's where the gold is in getting some of this information, but also getting the support, just knowing that there's other guys across the world, guys. I gotta tell you, the podcast is listened to in over 150 countries and 6,000 cities. So it's a global thing, and there's dads across the world that are going through this. So stay strong, my brothers, and just continue to be a blessing for your children, and reach out to Ben or I if we can help with anything else.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jude. I really appreciate it, man.
All right, my friend.
Y'all take care.